Hello, Stacy.
We miss you, Stacy.
He said turn the mics on.
Get better soon. We miss you.
Feel better.
Coughing. No, we're not muted. We're streaming. Stacy, you there?
She's coughing right now.
Yeah, we got her.
Oh. Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, God.
Stacy, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
We miss you, Stacy.
Feel better?
Feel better soon.
I'm dying over here.
All right, the time is 6:07. Call the special meeting to order. Will everybody please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stacy, if you're up for it, please call the roll. You want me to do it?
I got it. Councilwoman Garthwaite,
Here.
Councilman Rivera,
Here.
Councilman Ronan,
Here.
Councilwoman Heffernan, absent.
Absent.
Councilwoman Tagliatella,
Councilwoman Nancy Tagliatella, 2nd District, present.
Councilwoman Akbarali is absent. Councilman Donovan,
Councilman Gary Donovan, 4th District, present.
Councilman McMillan,
Present.
Councilwoman Callahan,
Absent.
absent.
She's absent.
Councilwoman Tucker
Absent.
is Councilwoman Tucker on Teams?
She was
Not yet?
supposed to be, but I don't see that she's on.
Not yet. Okay. And Councilman Quagliani
Here.
and Chairman Bargo.
Present.
Oh. Yeah, no, please.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
And for the record, Councilman Beaton is here too.
Oh, did I skip right over you? I am so sorry.
All seven. All seven.
I'm
of them.
sorry. I am not on my A game.
That's okay.
Councilman Beaton is here.
Is here.
Yeah.
Okay. Stacy, save your voice for the votes. I'm going to read the notice of meeting into the record. Notice is hereby given that in accordance with, I know she does a better job, with Rule 4.5 of the Rules of Procedure of the City Council, Chairman Christopher Vargo Jr. has called a special meeting of the West Haven City Council to be held at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2026, in the City Council Chambers, 3rd floor, 355 Main Street, West Haven, Connecticut. Purpose of this special meeting is as follows: deliberations and actions on the Charter Revision Commission's final Charter Revision report, and deliberations and action on the Charter Revision ballot questions. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Attorney Mednick does need to leave at 7 o'clock, so I do want to give him an opportunity to give us some background information structurally of how we should conduct this evening's meeting. What I propose is we are going to vote on the charter. I believe that we are going to have a total of 3 motions and 3 separate votes. Then Attorney Mednick will leave to go to his other appointment, and we will start discussing parameters of what we want for the ballot questions. We're not going to go into depth. Attorney Mednick is going to start preparing draft questions for our review, and then we will deliberate and have those discussions and vote next Wednesday, the 5th. But what I'd like to do is leave tonight and be able to email him tomorrow the parameters that we all agree on. Number of questions, anything specific that we want to separate out from the more omnibus questions, things like that. That way we give him some parameters to work with over the next couple of days. So that's ideally how I see this meeting going. Attorney Mednick, if you would step up to the podium, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My pleasure to be here tonight. I'm really sorry about this, but duty calls in Hamden at 7:30, so I apologize. So we're at the end of the process now, and tonight you will vote on the charter. I hope. I don't know what the breakdown of the three different votes are going to be, but my hope is that after you're finished with the three votes, you'll have a consolidated vote for the entire document. But what you can do this evening is you can vote in whole or in part, up or down. You can't amend the document. It's an unusual situation. I think I've tried to explain this before to you. You can't really amend the document. You can just either vote up or down on different issues within the document, including in its entirety for or against, with minor changes. An example would be if you, for example, wanted to. I don't mean to bring it up as to give everybody on any ideas. If you wanted to keep the treasurer on as an elected official, you could vote to keep the treasurer on or to reject the appointment of the treasurer.
While you're on that topic, that is one of the two items that we're going to separate out to separate votes. Structurally, how do I ask for that motion? Because I want to make sure that whatever verbiage I use is appropriate. So what would be my best practice to ask for?
You could go either way. You could move to approve the recommendation of the Charter Commission to repeal the office of treasurer as an elected office, or to reject the recommendation. So you can go either way. I sometimes find, I don't know what Kevin's thoughts are, moving to approve something is fine, because if you vote yes, you know what you're doing, and if you vote no, you know what you're doing.
So the verbiage of the motion really isn't going to make or break our action tonight. It's what is our intent.
What is your intent?
I understand. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So I guess I picked a good example. I missed our call today too, but I figured that was one of the issues that you might have to deal with. So once you do that, you then you don't have to do it this evening. You're under some urgency with the 15-day rule to get this done. And I know you plan on having a meeting later on the questions. You then have to approve questions. And I'm going to leave with Kevin, and he could distribute them. There's no science to these. These are just questions, sample ballot questions that I've used and others have used throughout the state, just to give you a sense of how it's done. But I was asked the question earlier, how many questions is too many questions, or how many questions should we have? And I have never had more than 3, maybe 4 once. In Stanford, they were, to try to kill the charter, they were going for 9 questions. Usually when you do a lot of questions, it usually means somebody is trying to subvert the process. The idea is what you want to try to do. I think in Bridgeport we had 3 or 4, and we tried to isolate issues, and even there it didn't, because one of the issues was so controversial that it ended up poisoning all the other questions. So what you want to do, since we've done a really substantial, I didn't think I'd get to use that term involved this charter. We did a real substantial revision of the document from the point of view of editing and cleaning it up, and the order in which it runs, and that's pretty substantial. We did gender neutrality. We did a whole bunch of things. So usually I'd have one omnibus question. It could be as simple as, do you support the bulk of the recommendations of the recommended by the Charter Revision Commission, approved by the City Council? And then you would then separate out the ones that you think require separate consideration, because they may be politically controversial. Usually the 4-year term would be in that category. Less so in the last few years. 10 years ago, New Haven had a separate question. Hamden had a separate question, and I think they lost. In the last go-around, both those towns moved to the 4-year term, and they put it right in the main question. So they never separated it. And it was against my advice, because I thought that it could be problematic, it could be perilous, but there was really no strong movement against the 4-year term. So they made a judgment. That's a political judgment, not a legal issue. But generally, you'd have that separate. You think about the treasurer separately. If there was more controversy on the library issue, you might do the library separately. But I think we've worked that through, and I'm hoping that would be part of the overall package. So I think the fewer questions, the better. One, you're going to have a ballot issue in terms of how many questions the ballot can accommodate. So maybe between now and next week, we should talk to the city clerk and find out what they think the maximum number of questions should be that you can actually load onto the ballot, which is a practical issue, and And that's my general view on that. The other thing that when you approve, what I ask you to do if you're approving the charter tonight, I would also ask you, unless you don't want to do this, is to approve either tonight or you can do it with the questions, is to approve the authority for the town clerk to do an explanatory text. I strongly recommend an explanatory text. It's probably the last thing I would do as your counsel, and that is a document where we objectively write what we've done. We can say we have, if you approve a 4-year term and it's in the package, there will be a 4-year term for mayor as opposed to the 2-year term, period. Not because we like it, but you would say objectively, this is what we've done, this is what we're replacing. And so it's got to be an objective document. Kevin's got to sign off on it as the city attorney, as the corporation counsel, because it's his job to make sure that it is a neutral document because public dollars are involved. You're using public dollars, so we can't advocate, we can just inform. And the great thing about it, there was a time where I didn't feel as strongly as I do now. With the internet, it's a really good document that you can post on the website of the city to identify for people what's in the document. In the old days, the only people who actually saw the explanatory text were absentee voters. The town clerk would send them out with ABs. In fact, that's usually my deadline to make sure it's ready to go out with the ABs, and then posted at the polling place. I remember when I was in your shoes as an alderman, there was always a question on the wall. How many people really look at the question on the wall? So the idea, to me, where it's really valuable is that it goes into the internet and it's available for people to look at. The other thing we have to do by statute, regrettably, is it is costly, although today I just did it for Weston and I was able to, I'm trying to find ways to publish charters, long charters, and reduce them down. I started doing this in Norwalk, and I took 70 pages of changes in Weston and compressed it to like 28. So I was able to get it down to 28 pages, this size paper. It'll be smaller font, so it's not going to be that long. But I was able to get it down to just the essence, where I don't repeat. If you have chapters that just involve what I call alignment edits, and when I say an alignment edit, we've defined terms, and so I'm not going to put every capital letter. Every paragraph with a capital letter would be just ridiculously costly to do. I'll say this section just has alignment edits, meaning that, and I define that up front, and so the people who look at it get notice. There's a link if they want to do it. We have a provision in the newspaper publication where we say call the town clerk if you want a copy. They'll make you a copy. By law, you have to do that. And but I think we give them enough information, and so I'll do my best to compress it down so it goes down considerably less than if you were to publish the whole thing, because that's real deadly. And that's it. So then what happens is after you approve the questions, they go on the ballot. They have to go to the Secretary of State's office the first week in September. They go on the ballot, and November, it's a simple majority wins. There's no minimum voting requirement. If you were to do a separate special election, you'd have a 15% requirement, 15% of the population. So I never recommend doing a special election for charters. And then it'll be up or down in November with the voters. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I just have a couple of procedural questions. Sure. Do I need a simple majority on all of these votes, or does anything require 2/3?
The only thing that required 2/3 in this process is creating the commission. Everything is a simple majority.
Okay. I noticed that on the transmittal, and I actually just noticed it a couple of hours ago. The latest transmittal from the CRC, number 9. There's a typo in it. It's actually Chapter 2, Section 8, not 7. I don't believe that's material to anything, but I just want to make sure that we're okay.
I think we're okay.
Okay. And last but not least, after we approve the charter, can I call for a motion and a vote that authorizes you and Attorney Cassini to make grammatical and
Please.
substantive changes
Yeah.
because I did see a few things that do need to still.
Yeah,
be
I meant
corrected.
to. I meant to say that one of the things. I apologize for not doing it. I'm sure Kevin would have done it in my haste. I always ask for the ability to continue to do what I call Scrivener's corrections all the way through publication, and sometimes after publication. Sometimes I'll make some Scrivener's corrections if I find a period or a semicolon missing after, because Kevin may call me in once we approve it. I may have to look at it one last time before we send it to the company that will publish it in November. So,
So what would be the deadline that I could give you?
just say that the Corp Counsel and counsel to the Special Counsel on Charter Revision can continue to make Scrivener's errors, corrections throughout the entire process, including the period of publication. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever done anything after publication. Maybe
Very good.
just a little nit somewhere
Great.
there, here or there. And so that's kind of it.
Any questions for Attorney Magnet before we get into the work?
Yeah. Yeah. They can split it up. They can do it that way too. I used the last report because then it just assumes everything else that was in Schedule B is approved. Because everything may not be on this list. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would do. Yeah. So I don't know how you're going to break it down, but last week in Weston, what we did is you got three different categories here. You got the document, the draft document. You didn't act on everything in the draft document. You came up with a number of changes, which are all in Schedule A. I believe it was 46 items. And then, so category one is things you didn't act on that are in the draft report and still in the final report, which are probably delineated in Schedule B. Then you have the items in Schedule A that the Charter Commission approved, so that they are in alignment with the changes, and we made the changes, and they're in the final report. So that's done, basically, unless somebody on the body doesn't want to approve one of those. And then you have the items that are either rejected or modified. And so what we did there is we simply focused on those items that were rejected or modified. And there they had about 24 recommendations, so we only had 4 or 5 areas to look at. It didn't take a lot of time, frankly. And then they just approved one motion to approve the document, and they had one person vote against everything. It's a 3-member board of selectmen, and it was a partisan breakdown, but there was just one vote on the entire document in the end.
So I know that there's two recommended changes that I am going to separate out into 2 separate motions. Assuming that none of the other council members want to separate out anything else, would it be appropriate for me to ask for a motion to approve the remainder of the final report as drafted, and that would automatically come with the caveat that the 2 items, assuming that they were voted down, or?
Well, what I would do is I would vote. You want to do that first vote on the overall package, then take it out. You want to do the first.
I want to do the separate.
I would do the
first.
first. Yeah, I would vote on the first 2. Then whatever the outcome is, I don't know how it would work out. If let's use the treasurer for example. If somebody wants to keep the treasurer as an elected official and it's rejected, so it's still an appointed official, that's still in the majority report of the final commission. So yes, you can do it. You can do it that way.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Is there anything else from the attorneys or the city council for questions before we move on? Okay. If I screw up on asking for my motions, Attorney Cassini, please jump up and correct me. Stacey, are you good to go? Thumbs up? Great. Okay. First item is I'm looking for a motion to approve the Charter Revision Commission's recommendations with respect to Chapter 7, Section 4, which makes the city treasurer an appointed position rather than an elected position. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Quagliani. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Beaton and Councilman Donovan. Discussion. Councilman Garthwaite?
I didn't know we were going to have discussion, but I will put on record that I am very much in favor of keeping it as an elected position. I think it's a valuable position within our community, and I think it's good to make sure that we keep it as is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Garthwaite,
No.
Councilman Rivera,
Yes.
Councilman Ronan,
No.
Councilwoman Heffernan,
No.
Councilwoman Tagliatella,
No.
Councilwoman Akbarali is absent. Councilman Donovan,
Yes.
Councilman McMillan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Callahan is absent. Councilwoman Tucker is still not here, correct?
I do not see her.
And Councilman Beaton,
Yes.
Councilman Beaton,
Yes.
Councilman Quagliani,
Yes.
and Chairman Vargo.
Yes.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 yeses, Chairman.
Motion fails. Doesn't pass. It stays as is. Terry Mendez, does it stay as is? It was.
It passes.
We need we need 7.
No. Simple majority.
Okay. Every vote that we take is always
Our
vote of
simple
7.
majority is usually 7.
It's a simple majority of a quorum.
Mm.
So it fails. Okay. The motion was to approve converting the treasurer from elected to appointed, and that failed. It will still be elected. Retain elected. I'm looking for a motion to approve the charter revision.
I
Yes.
have a question. So does that mean it stays elected for 2 years or 4 years?
That's Terry Medic. Can you go up to the mic? Because my belief is that it stays as it presently is. So that means it is a 2-year position.
That's what I thought
Since
too.
it was
But
not, since there was no recommendation from the commission regarding a term of office, because there was going to be no term of office, it would retain status quo as in the current charter, so it would remain a 2-year term.
Okay, so it's going to run on the same track as Board of Assessment Appeals and City Council.
And council.
Assuming that the mayor and the city clerk go to 4 years.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Thank you.
I'll have the minutes reflect that,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the Charter Revision Commission's recommendations to change the term of office for the office of mayor and city clerk from 2 years to 4 years.
Motion.
I have a motion from Councilman Donovan. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Quagliani. Discussion? Councilman Garthwaite?
I wrestled with this one a lot. I love Mayor Bohr, right? Everybody loves Mayor Bohr. So how I feel is that I love West Haven too, and this city has had a lot of corruption, a lot, and we took a lot of beating, the last council term. Sorry for my shaky voice, but I don't want to see West Haven fall into another pattern of, if we go 4 years, we might get a mayor that would take advantage, and we might actually do more damage to our city. I said to Councilman Vargo that, if Mayor Bohr was going to be mayor for 50 years more, I'd be okay with the charter being, 4-year term. But Mayor Bohr can't do, well, maybe she could do 50 more years. So I'm not in favor of this. I thought about it a lot, and I'm going to be voting no, and it's definitely not a reflection on our mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I am in favor of the 4-year terms. I think that in order for the mayor to be able to execute on his or her vision, it takes at least 4 years. And I don't remember, I have not been in West Haven as long as some of you have, but I don't remember a mayor that has not had 2 terms that he or she did not want to only have the 1 term. So I think it is necessary for consistency and to be able to execute on a vision that the 4 years is necessary. I think to retain top talent for department heads, you need some job security. I am disappointed that the commission did not agree that the city council should also have 4 years. I believe that there are numerous practical implications to that decision that will be seen in the next 4 to 6 years, but that is their decision. But I do not think that we should penalize West Haven because everybody's not on the same track. I think that the mayor going to 4 years made sense. I think it still makes sense, and I think that we should do it and just see what happens, over the next couple of years. Further discussion? Councilman Donovan and then Councilman Heffernan.
Yeah, I'd have to look back, but I don't believe there has been a mayor that's only done 1 term.
There was.
Yeah, of course.
Who?
Clem.
Heffernan.
Well, yes, okay.
Clem is in most recent.
Yeah, that is true. But I overall, I think the 4 year, it takes the mayor time to adapt. It takes them to readjust the previous administration if they change hands, right? So I'm all for the 4 years for the mayor and the town clerk as well. They should work in combination with one another. So I am definitely for this.
Councilman Heffernan?
So we could vote on this. We're putting it to the people. This is going to be one of the very specific questions on the ballot, I'm presuming.
That would be my
would be your
intent.
assumption?
I would push for that, yeah.
So this would be something that would actually be a real democratic process and a vote of the people. We can put it out there. If the people say yes, then we have done a good thing, and it's the will of the people. And if they say no, then we don't do it. And it is the will of the people. I think we should give the people an option to say yay or nay. I mean, whether I'm for it or against it is it's a moot point. But I am in favor of giving the people an option to change and to vote the way they would like to vote.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Garthwaite,
No.
Councilman Rivera,
Yes.
Councilman Ronan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Heffernan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tagliatella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Aquarelli is absent. Councilman Donovan,
Yes.
Councilman McMillan,
Sí, señora.
Councilwoman Callahan is absent. Councilwoman Tucker is absent. Councilman Beaton,
Yes.
Councilman Quagliani,
Yes.
and Chairman Vargo.
Yes.
Nine yeses.
Motion
Mr. Chairman.
passes. Attorney Mednick?
Just wanted to bring out to your attention, we have in the charter, in light of your vote on the treasurer, I just want to let you know one of the edits I'm going to make. I don't think it requires, unless Kevin thinks it does, any further action. I think we need to obviously go into the section where it defines the functions of the treasurer, because there we define them as being appointed. So I now have to bring the language back that they're elected. And the only question is whether to leave. I think I will move then the treasurer back into the elected officials chapter with those responsibilities. So I just want to let you know. I think. Do you think we need a motion on that, Kevin? I think that in light of, we're maintaining status quo. I think we just it's a reversion back. Yeah. All right. Great. So I just want to let you know. You'll see the treasurer move from the appointed officials into the elected officials.
So essentially, just to button that up, any change that was made in anticipation that the treasurer was going to go from elected to appointed, you are now going to reverse that and put it back to so functionally it is what it is now.
It'll be what it is now, and the placement. We do have a chapter on other elected officials, chapter 5.
Mm-hmm.
So all that content will go into chapter 5.
Okay.
All right.
Before I ask for a motion on the remainder of the document, I just want to give everybody an opportunity. The floor is open. Are there any specific motions to approve or reject any recommendation from the Charter Revision Commission? For a second time, any specific motions? Third and final time, any specific motions? Seeing none, Attorney Mednick, could you help me out with the verbiage? I just want to make sure that I get this right. So I want to ask, I want to call for a motion on the remainder of the CRC's final report, but obviously not include the treasurer, right?
Yeah, what I would do is I would move approval of the final report of the Charter Commission as modified by the actions you took tonight.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion to approve the final report of the Charter Revision Commission as modified by votes of this evening.
Motion.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Heffernan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Tagliatella. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Garthwaite,
Yes.
Councilman Rivera,
Yes.
Councilman Ronan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Heffernan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tagliatella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Aquarelli is absent. Councilman Donovan,
Yes.
Councilman McMillan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Callahan is absent. Councilwoman Tucker is absent. Councilman Beaton,
Yes.
Councilman Quagliani,
Yes.
and Chairman Vargo.
Yes.
And that's 10 yeses, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion passes. I will entertain a motion to give the authority to the city clerk to create and post an explanatory text detailing the changes to the charter.
Motion.
I have a motion from Councilman Quagliani. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Heffernan. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I will entertain a motion to authorize Corporation Counsel and Special Counsel to make any Scrivener's corrections through the remainder of this process. I have a motion from Councilman McMillan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Tagliatella. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Are we good on the charter?
Well done. You have completed your work. Except for the next bigger, more important part. I'm handing out right now to each of the aisles here, each of the sides, the document that Attorney Mennick referenced earlier, example questions. There's, let's see, you've got hybrid questions, compound questions, simple questions, 12 of them in total. So 4 for you, Councilman Donovan. I'll bring the others over here. Yes, I'm going to cede the
I'm
microphone.
sorry, I'm just going to interrupt 1 second. Stacy, we are not taking any more action this evening, so if you want to sign off and go and feel better, please feel free to do so, and thank you for joining us tonight.
I'll stick around until I don't feel very
Okay.
well. I'll take a few notes just for, just for the minutes purposes.
Feel free to sign off whenever
Believe
you
me,
need to.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Great job. Well done, guys.
Yeah.
Council, all yours.
Thank you. First of all, can I say I did not join on the email chain thanking Stacy for, Stacy wrote a very eloquent and beautiful note to all of us on email, and I was appreciative of it, but I was so crazy busy last week I didn't. I just want to let her know that I think she's one of the models that I've worked with, who work with councils. In fact, I was just telling my council that they should, Stacy, that they should give her a call. Because she's a model of efficiency and gets things done, and she's an outstanding person to work with. So I just wanted to let you know my thoughts on that. So, all right.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I am just so sick.
So, well,
Thank
be
you
well.
very
Be well.
much.
I'll do in Hebrew we have something called a mishi berach. It's a prayer for health. I'll do a mishi berach when I get home tonight for you to wish you health.
Thank you.
There's a bunch of different examples here, and you can go very simple and you can go very complex. Now, example 1 has 4 different questions. Again, these are not relevant to West Haven, but they give you an idea. Example 2 is very simple. You want to reorganize the structure of government. We didn't really do that, but we organized the structure of the document more than anything else. So it would be that kind of question. And so we've had them, some as simple as, I don't know if I put the simple one here. Oh, yeah. Look at example 5. That's the Hamden example, and New Haven did the same thing. Shall the town of Hamden approve and adopt the charter changes as recommended by the Charter Revision Commission and is approved by the Legislative Council, the City Council in your case? Very simple. Doesn't say anything, doesn't say much. Are you for it or are you against it? Then it's up to the people campaigning for it, and it's up to the explanatory text to carry the day. Just go above that. Question number 4 in example number 4. That is what I call an omnibus question. I'm not sure you need it, but if you felt that there was a need to kind of explain that we added definitions, we added this, we added that, we added the 4-year term is probably going to be a separate question. We've done a number of different things. If you want to spell them out a little bit more, particularly in that case, I forget which town that was. I can't remember now. You would have a breakdown. So we had a breakdown in that one of about 4 or 5 different concepts that were included in the omnibus question. So I sometimes recommend omnibus. If you're going to break out other questions, the simple question might be fine, and there might be a way to develop an omnibus. I mean, when you give us your guidance later tonight or tomorrow, if you want me to try to frame what I would think an omnibus question would look like for you, I could do that to give you some alternatives. But so there's the simple question, there's an omnibus question, and then you have the specific issue-related questions that you would want to put out there if there are specific issues that you want to ask people to look at. So I would recommend that you look at these. And then, and I'll be happy to answer any questions for the next 15 minutes or so. But there's a pretty good variety of questions here.
My question is: we are clearly not going to have 50 some odd questions, and we are clearly not going to have one. So, given in your experience, given how much work has been put into this charter and the changes, obviously we're going to, I don't want to say obviously, but I do feel strongly that we're probably going to separate out the 4-year term as a separate question. There may be a few others. Given the other changes in this charter, what do you think an appropriate number is that we should target?
You mean the number of questions?
Yes.
That really depends on what you think might require more public consideration. My general rule on the number of questions is what are the politically thorny issues and what are the big issues? We know the 4-year term's a big issue, so you want people to make a determination on the 4-year term. I don't think you want to do a question on definitions, whether we should have definitions or not have definitions. So I think it depends roughly on what your thoughts are in terms of what the controversial questions are, if any, beyond the 4-year term. As I said, there was a point where I thought the library might need a separate question, but I'm not sure it does need a separate question, but that's a political judgment you have to make. I think we had very successful conversations with counsel for the library, and presumably they talked to their clients, and everything seems to be fine in that regard. So the number of questions really is based on a political judgment that only you can make, that I can't make. What you might think about is an omnibus that would break it down a little bit and say that, let me just try to flip through here and tell you some of the things I do. That would say we added definitions, we consolidated all the election provisions in one section. We consolidated all the boards and commissions. Remember, the boards and commissions were all over the place, and the departments were all over the place. So we've consolidated those things, and that tells people what you did, because we didn't do anything structurally dramatic. We didn't eliminate the Planning and Zoning Commission and create some other entity. We didn't do anything to change the ethics rules. In one of my communities, we're doing a massive ethics change. That might be a separate question. In fact, in one of my other communities, they might do a separate question on subpoenas. We actually authorized the issuance of subpoenas in ethics. That may be controversial. That may be a separate question. So that's the kind of example. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things I would go through. We really didn't do anything on budget because you actually made the budget date changes. So, I mean, I don't see, aside from the 4-year term for mayor, I don't see a lot of controversial provisions for a breakdown. I have no other way to answer the question.
Okay.
There's no right number, Mr. Chair. It's kind of wrong to have a lot. Whether when you start getting over 4 or 5 in that category, I think you're starting to burden the voter.
Okay. On the issue of the VIA, I applaud, and I said this at the last CRC meeting, the current language. I think it's great. It accomplished what we wanted. I was very concerned with the prior iteration of that. Help us decide, because the VIA and the library are hot issues in West Haven, very important to a lot of folks. Can you explain just functionally what it is this charter now does? My understanding is that it sort of directs that the city and the VIA are going to enter into an agreement in relatively short order regarding the governing of the funds, and the partnership between the VIA and the city. But if you can kind of put into layman's terms what we actually did do, that I think that'll inform us on whether or not we need a separate question.
Yeah, what I think what we did here is right now you have this ambiguous provision at the back of the document. It's not in the departments. It has nothing to do with the departments. That describes the VIA, and no one. I would guarantee you that most of your constituents probably have no idea what that is and what it means. If you're involved in the library, you might, but if you're not involved in the library, you won't. What I think the operating principle in the section that we negotiated was to do several things. I think we had the objective on your behalf as the legislative body and the fiscal authority to make sure there was some level of accountability, that the VIA already does provide the budget. They're pretty transparent. I mean, we learned in this process, I don't think Kevin will dispute this, that they've been very receptive, very transparent, and very good to work with. I have to say, because I've worked with library entities in other communities where they're very wary and I won't say paranoid, but there's an element of that. Got none of that here. These folks that we dealt with were really outstanding in terms of disclosing and in terms of being honest with us. They wanted to make sure we weren't doing anything untoward toward them, and that was not the intent of any of the conversations I had with any of you or with the mayor. I think the objective was accountability. So number one, we wanted to establish what it is and what it does, because that section that's in the current charter doesn't really say much. So that's the first thing. So it describes what the VIA is. It's a not-for-profit. They're responsible for the directing and managing the West Haven Public Library system, still our West Haven Public Library system. It then goes on to describe what the library system is. That is a fundamental government authority. They wanted that language in there. They don't want to be deemed a department. We don't want them to be deemed a department. We're calling them a budget, a budget entity, a budgeted entity. But they wanted to have the moniker of that they're providing the work of a government entity when they go for zoning and things like that, and they're doing improvements on the buildings that serve our public. So they're operating a fundamental government function, the library function. Makes that clear. It's a budgeted entity, not a department. They're responsible for their employees, so we make that clear. Their employees are not our employees. Their employees are the employees of the VIA. They will be providing insurance. We were going back and forth on that issue. When we got the response back from the VIA, it looked like we were negotiating a contract and trying to come to terms on what the level of insurance liability would be. We simply say that they understand that there's liability. They're going to have to provide insurance, and we'll have to negotiate that. So that will be something that will be negotiated going in the future. We borrowed a provision from the Stanford Charter, which I thought was a really good provision, and built on it quite a bit, so it's even a better provision than Stanford's provision, that basically says that we're authorized to provide financial and in-kind assistance to the association, to the VIA, for operating and maintaining the library. We established the budget submission requirements that are not defined anywhere. They do comply, apparently, but they're not defined anywhere. Now they're defined in the charter. So they're not a department, but they have to do the same things all other departments have to do. We were very careful. I know some people wanted to have a guaranteed floor for them, and I think everybody was concerned. And I made this very clear to Attorney Cummings, who I know quite well, served in Art Kelly's role in Waterbury as the chair of their charter commission, and is also a member of the Silas Bronson Library in Waterbury, Connecticut, my childhood library that I still revere as a 74-year-old man. I still love the Silas Bronson Library. So she understood that we weren't going to do that. We didn't want to create a second fund like a Board of Education with the guaranteed funds. So they have to come and they have to persuade that the funds are required, and then they have to comply with it. They have reporting requirements that are made clear here, and administrative requirements. So while they're not a department, and we're not saying they have to follow our personnel rules or our procurement rules, we're saying that they should be adopting competitive procurement and personnel policies that are consistent with the standards for public entities, for applicable standards for public libraries. We actually narrowed it down to standards for public libraries throughout the state and the country. So it really is. It really defines who they are. It elevates the library function, which is a public function. It was kind of obscured because when I looked through the charter, my first run through the charter, I said, "Where's the library?" And there it was in the last chapter with this one paragraph on the VIA. And so I think it elevates the library function where it belongs, and it defines who the VIA is, so that 10 years from now, whoever's sitting in our shoes or your shoes won't be trying to figure out what is this thing and how does it work. So I think we've provided a framework. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Very quickly before he needs to leave, any questions from the council? Councilman Donovan?
Yeah, no, I think the questions now are going to be minimal, right? Because not only did the Charter Revision Commission possibly take away voters' rights, we did too tonight, right? With the 4 years for the city council, the 4 years for the board of ed, and now the treasurer. They don't get to vote yes or no, right? Those could have been separate questions, which they would have been separate questions. So now those are gone. So with that, we probably only need possibly 4 questions, 3 being the separated one. The last one, I'm going to use example 5 in a way, and this is what I came up with, and you tell me if yay or nay what you think. I know we're going to talk about this later. Instead of it, it'll say, shall the city of West Haven approve and adopt the remaining charter changes as recommended by the Charter Revision Commission and as approved by the city council. That would take care of the remaining charter revision, correct?
Yeah, it would be the questions that are not separate questions, basically.
Correct. So
Yeah.
you would have 1, 2 question, maybe 3, and then this could possibly be.
Yeah, if you made that question 3, you could probably refer to 1 and 2 that are other than the.
Well, we need
yeah,
that separate anyways, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we when we figure out what those questions are, we can make a reference in the broad question to those other 2 questions.
Right. Okay. Good.
Or 3. Or
As long as,
whatever.
yeah, want to give them the opportunity to vote. All right.
Any
Thank you.
specific questions for Attorney Mendick on just understanding the process, or are we good before we start talking? Okay, Attorney Mendick, I know that you need to leave. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again to all of you. It's
I'll
been
see you-
a
I'll
lot
see
of
you,
fun.
next
All right.
week.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Thank you. Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to be heard. So we'll go around the table. I'll just start quickly. I think that the question on the 4-year term of the mayor and the city clerk should be a separated question. I think that has deep political impact, and the voters will specifically want to address it. So I think that should be a specific question. Everything else, honestly, I think could be bundled together in either 1 or 2 omnibus questions. I mean, we do a lot in here, but you know, we're doing a lot, but we're not functionally changing the way that the city operates. And when I say that we do a lot, you know, we've clarified the role of you know, the city council in the appointing and dismissal of board and commission members, things like that. We've clarified, you know, what the VIA and their relationship with the city is. We've clarified, you know, the mayor's responsibilities on appointing various boards and commission members, and how the mayor can terminate a department head, and you know, various job functions that I don't think need to be itemized. We've clarified a lot of titles for department heads and departments themselves and boards and commissions. Again, I don't think that requires itemized questions. I think that we could put that in a bit of a narrative question. You know, Kevin, I'm kind of looking at, you know, sort of like a hybrid of example 4, number 4, where it's a lengthier question, but it really just kind of gives a summary, you know, high overview summary of all the things that the charter's change does, and maybe we break that up into 2 of those instead of having one, you know, 14-line question. Maybe we break that up into 2 with the 4-year term as a third.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Looking at that block of text, if I'm a voter, I'm wondering, where's my opportunity to say yes to A and B and no to C and D and E, and it's not there. Mm-hmm. It presents as if it might be, but it's actually not. It's written for ease of understanding, but it can easily confuse, I think, as to what your options are, because really you're voting on number 4, not on A, B, C, D, and E. So I don't know if I would go with something like that.
Well, what I was thinking is if we could lump together similar changes. For example, we changed department titles. We changed board and commission titles. We changed department head titles. Those are all functionally the same thing. So if we can make a question similar to number 4, where, you know, shall the charter be generally advised to A, change the titles to the boards, change the titles to the commissions, A, B, C, and D.
Sure.
It's an omnibus question in my mind that it's multiple changes, but they're all similarly situated.
I can understand it. I just think you want to be clear with the way it presents on the ballot. Blocks of text like that often just get skipped over anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want people to skip over this. You want people to read it, understand it, and then act with information instead of out of exhaustion. And we have more than 5 of those types of things. If you consider the retitling, the reordering, the restructuring, the unpronouncing, whatever word we were using for that,
Gender neutrality, and then also the definitions, there's quite a bit that falls under that umbrella.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that those things are controversial, but they may make an elector weary. So that's a concern. Does it have to be the reason that you choose to break them all apart? No, maybe not, but I think you want to think about it.
Councilwoman Heffernan and then Councilman Tagliatella.
Are you thinking about maybe doing the tax collector as a separate question as well?
How does everybody feel?
Yeah, we can.
We voted it together,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know how you separate it.
We voted. Well, it was part of the overall package, but we could put whatever questions.
It's up to you to word the questions however you want.
The public's not going to be asked to approve the document as is. We could separate out the individual provisions to the extent that we want.
I don't know. I haven't heard anybody really. Yeah, really. Again, it doesn't. I appreciate your comments before. It really doesn't matter what I think. I'm trying to identify, if having the tax collector as an elected or official, something that the taxpayer is interested significantly in. I mean, I'd argue that there's a tax manager in there that does that job, so it's kind of a duplicate job, and we have the tax collector himself say that, the reality is that you need a professional manager in there. So could it be separated? Yeah, I guess it can be separated. I'm not sure I would be supportive of that, though.
Councilman Tagliatella?
I'm in line to agree with Attorney Cassini and the old saying, I think sometimes less is more. And the voters, I think if you have too much, I agree. I think either they're just going to say, oh, I'm not going to read all this, and you're going to lose either way. I think being more concise and to the point, I think that's going to grab their attention where they are apt to read it in its entirety instead of just say, oh, this is too much, I'm going to skip it. So,
Attorney Cassini, is our choice basically, it's either the number of questions or it's the length of the questions?
All of those. Whatever words in whatever order and as much or as little text as you choose is what will be sent to the Secretary of State for referendum.
Right. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I do agree. The more questions we have, the more difficult this is going to be because voters are just going to gloss over them saying, I can't deal with 15, 20 different questions. I also agree that I don't want to read a 15, 16 line question. So we have to find that balance that we can get as much information into the fewest number of questions, right? I mean, that's really our goal.
That's it. Like you said when you started, it's not 1 and it's not 46 or 56. So what is it? It's somewhere in the middle, but where's the breaking point? You know the body much better than Attorney Mednick and I do. You all do. You're representing them. So what's in their best interest to get them? A, you want them to show up to vote. And B, you want them to stand there and read it and then actually pick. So what will get that done? I don't know. You all certainly know better than I do.
Councilman Beaton?
I would strongly like to consider separating the Village Improvement Association as well. In terms of the complexity of that, I echo what's been said. I had no idea in terms of what that actually was. And I have reservations on if we put that in a group question that may, for lack of a better word, sabotage that particular question.
Councilman Donovan?
Yeah, a couple things. I agree with Councilwoman Tagliatelle, less is more. I don't agree with separating the tax collector. And as much as I appreciate Councilman Beaton, I think there might have been people thinking that we're trying to sneak that. We're never trying to sneak anything in, right? The public will have a copy, right, of the changes. We have another public hearing, or that was it, right? But the public will be able to get the changes ahead of time. I mean, unless we go door to door and hand it to them, they have that responsibility. So sometimes it may benefit that that's in there as well. Too many questions, and I'm looking at myself being a layman, just going in to vote. If I see a question that's this paragraph long, I'm not voting for it. I'm not reading. I'm not voting for it. I want to get in. I want to do my thing and get out. I don't want to sit there and have to read a book to make my decision. I might only be interested in the couple of the questions that I know are out there anyway. So again, we're going to have more discussion on it, I guess. But I don't think having to explain everything we've done in a question, because they're going to have the opportunity to have the copy, whether they get it or not, that's on the residents, that's on the public as well. But we need to get it out there as well. With that, again, just my opinion. Doesn't mean nothing. It's just one vote.
Just by way of order, the entirety will be printed in the newspaper. Again, we'll have copies available for anyone who wants to peruse them downstairs in the clerk's office, of course. I can talk with them down there. We haven't done this in the past, but see if they're willing to make copies for people if people don't want to spend. If you want to make a copy in the land records, it's like 10 cents a page. Well, this is a 99-page document if you get the one with the comments. So it's going to be 75, 78 pages or something like that. If you don't want to pay $7.80, and that's the difference between knowing and not knowing, maybe the city can bear some of those costs if you think that would get some more people informed and over the hump. And I certainly understand exactly what you're saying. I think there's a lot of merit to it. I think you also want to consider that you can't just have someone walk in and have referendum question number 4 be, will you vote for recommendation number 9, and then not have what that is. Maybe that means get out the word campaign of some kind. I'm not sure what can be done there. Other municipalities have had the charter review commission then reform as like almost a political action committee, and they have budget that they raise, and they go out there trying to get people in favor of their proposed changes. I don't know if that's something that would work here. Of course, they usually have a full year to do that. You won't have that here. But it could be as easy as making sure that you're all available to answer questions for people that ask. As you did earlier, Attorney Mednick, can you walk us through, in regular person language, what we're proposing with the library? If you all have that information in your heads, and you do because you spend a lot of time with it, then you can be responsive to the people that are interested, that do seek you out to try to inform themselves. But there is a lot, and there's not a lot of time. So you're absolutely right. There are going to be some people that just look at it and say, that's got nothing to do with me. I'm here for this other thing. Or I'm here to make sure that this one thing doesn't happen or does happen. Or I'm just here to vote because I vote every time. But I had no idea about this, and I'm not going to spend time right now getting myself up to speed. There are people, and I don't mean it to sound like there are people that are lazy or ignorant. It's not that at all. There are people in our city that don't know that we just did all of this all summer and into the spring and into the summer, right? They're informed voters. They're educated, intelligent people that are active in their communities. They just don't know that we did it. And so as a person, if I'm that person, I'm responsible. I get there and I say, oh, I shouldn't vote yes or no on this because I'm ignorant. I didn't spend any time with this information. I should sit this one out. And you may get a lot of those people as well. And that part of that is a product of the condensed timeline that we're working with. Can't do much about that. You do want to communicate as much information as is necessary to have somebody understand what it is they're looking at. Enough to say, okay, I get that. let me vote for it or let me vote against it, but at least let me vote. I don't know where you strike the balance. And that's why I've been telling you throughout this whole process, this is the most important part. This is the most politically charged part, of course, because in other towns, when it's very combative, things get spiked, as you heard Steve say. Poison pill will destroy the entire thing. I don't think anybody wants that. We want to make sure that this happens this time because it didn't happen last time for lots of reasons, but one of which was it was just too big for people to look at and say yes or no. Or there was one thing in there that they didn't like, so they wouldn't go for it. We're trying to break that mold and give people more options. But if you give them too many options, you may be asking too much of them. And they may say, well, wait a second, I thought you're supposed to do that work. Why am I standing here on a Tuesday, before dinner, figuring out what it is I'm supposed to be doing? You were supposed to have done that for me. I'm not sure what the answer is, but you want to consider all of these things.
I think my concern is that generally speaking, for the work of the city council, I do believe that there is, it is incumbent on the voters, taxpayers, residents to keep themselves informed. However, in this process, we are asking them to make the decision, and I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that they have all the information they need to make that informed decision so they can actually make the decision at the ballot. What we don't want is somebody, as Attorney Cassine just said, to come up there and say, I had no idea this was on the ballot. I don't know what this is about, so I'm going to sit this one out. Or, the last time, somebody just says, I'm not in favor of one of these things, and that's enough to completely kill the whole thing. So I do think we need to identify what we believe that our constituents will find the most important to decide separately, and then what we can, lump it all together. One question I have, Attorney Cassini, is do you have any sense of the timeline of when this will be published in the newspaper? Because I'm wondering, would the city council have enough time to possibly not have a public hearing and notice it that way, but maybe have a special meeting where we can invite the public to come and talk to us? Kind of have an open forum workshop so we could answer their questions if they so choose to.
You will have
educate.
the time. This needs, by September, needs to be with the Secretary of State. You have all of August to have that. Now, I think you want to be very clear what it is and what it isn't. It's not an opportunity for people to weigh in. That time has come and gone. In fact, the time for you all to weigh in has come and gone. It's more of an information session. So I wouldn't call it a special meeting, and I wouldn't call it a public hearing. It may be, in the public hearing portion of your meetings, you listen. You don't speak. Purposefully so, but also it's their time because they pay for all of this. They pay for the electric, they pay for me, they pay for everybody to be here for the time that you're spending here. So it's their time to tell you whatever they want to tell you. I would make sure that it's titled something differently, information session or, village round table or whatever you want to call it, so that it's something separable from a public hearing, public information session. And then you can be open to answering questions, but they got to be structural questions or procedural questions or explanatory questions and answers rather than debate. Why did you do this thing is not something that you want to get into. You can explain why, I guess, but it has no bearing because it's already been done. The die is cast at that point.
Right.
As to when will it be published in the newspaper, I don't know if there is a prescriptive time in advance. I know that there's a time, it has to be before such and such a date. I don't know if you have to wait a certain amount of time after what action you all took tonight to publish it. Of course, Steve has to put it all together before it can be put out there. The number one concern, and maybe it was a little bit lost when he explained it, but the reason that he was talking about shrinking documents from 70 down to 20-something pages is because for wide publication, you have to pay through the nose per page. And so to print the entire thing can be expensive. And so that's why he was talking about shrinking it down and shrinking the font and things like that. But whenever you decide to have, if you choose to have some type of public information session, I would coordinate it so that it's published in the paper beforehand and it's available downstairs and on the website before that so that people have an opportunity to inform themselves. or find out what they don't know and then come with a specific question rather than, I heard you're changing the charter. Tell me what it is. We can't do that, you know?
Councilman Garthwaite.
I was going to say that I think we should keep it as simple as possible. It should be one sentence. Example, should the mayor and city clerk change to a 4-year term? Second question, do you accept the revisions to the charter? It should be as simple as possible, because once we start complicating it with lots of text and lots of verbiage, you're not going to get anybody to vote. I know myself, because when I came here for the charter revision, I read that question. I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't inform myself. And then I'm like, I really don't understand what that is, so I'm just going to pass it by. So we've got to keep it as simple and concise as possible. So I agree with Councilman Donovan and Councilwoman Tagliatella.
For a lot of people, that's the responsible way to approach voting. Vote on the things that you know about. You don't want to discourage that. Many people accept their civic duty, but they've got 45 minutes to do it. You know, I got to do it before I pick up my kids, or I have to do it before I get to work, or I have to do it on my lunch break, whatever it may be. And you're not obliged to fit all of the referendum questions to each and every one of those scenarios, but I think you do want to be responsive to them, because that's a very real consideration, especially in our town, where people aren't just sitting around on Tuesday, the first Tuesday in November, waiting to decide when they're going to go vote. They've got other things that they need to be doing. So if they have to spend that much time reading into things, then maybe they're just going to pass those things by. But I think that there's an opportunity to maybe get away from some of the strict legalese language that's here that may convolute things in a way that pushes people towards moving past the question and just saying, I don't know what shall the charter be revised in such a way as to reorganize the structure of government. I'm not getting into that. I don't know what that is. I'm not dealing with that. Okay, let's change the words, but have the same effect. That's possible.
I just want to point out Attorney Kevin, sorry.
Attorney Kevin's fine.
Attorney Kevin, you said something that I totally resonated with. You know, and it has been said to me many times over the years that I've been serving. It's our job to make those decisions, because we were elected to represent all of our constituents. So the nitty bitty gritty details are the ones that we should be responsible for, because we're elected. The vast concepts should be put out. I mean, that's pretty much like saying, like I said before, there's a big change coming, a 4-year mayor as opposed to a 2-year mayor, a 4-year city clerk as opposed to a 2-year city clerk. So those types of things, I think that should be out there. The other little things, I don't think that they're really going to matter as much to most of our constituents, to be honest. So, thank you.
Councilman Rivera.
So my 2 cents is or are simplicity is best on the ballot. However, I think it's incredibly imperative that we get that explanatory text document in layman's terms, very clear and concise, and explaining it like we're explaining it to a kindergartner, right? And with examples. So one of the questions in my mind would be anything that's a definition or cosmetic. That's a simple question. And then we define the examples, or we can even document in layman's terms, here's what it was, here's what it is, right? And chair versus chairman, perfect example of that. And then the bigger items you keep separate. But that explanatory text document is critical, and I think we should absolutely do at least 1 or 2 town halls in every district and give the residents an opportunity to come out and ask their questions, and we can explain it to them. So now you take every individual district council person, and the at-larges can obviously go as well and attend those. And they don't have to be these massive things, but we have areas in every district that we can do this. Just my opinion. I think it's the simpler the better on the questions. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Otherwise, they will go right by them.
There have been towns that are broken up into multiple districts like yours, more districts, and each person in charge of that district on the same day or same night went and did the same thing. So it all happened at the same time, but not everybody had to travel to the same one place. They all went to some place in their district, met with their representative, and asked whatever questions they had.
It's exactly what I
Yeah.
meant.
The one thing you do want to be careful of is, as Steve said, we're informing, we're not advocating, right? It needs to be a middle of the road explanatory document. The text certainly will be, and then anything that follows up after that shouldn't be a political meeting. It should be an informational meeting. And sometimes it straddles the line. I understand that. It can be difficult to make sure that you're not wearing any hats. You're just there as the person who spent the time in the room and has the information. The questions you get probably won't be specifically neutral. And that's okay, but the information still can be.
Right. And anything that's not part of the charter, we can just put it in a parking lot or take it as an action item and take it away from that meeting. Kind of shut down that conversation and say, I'll take that as an action item. We'll follow up on it. But this is what we're here for.
Councilman Beaton?
Counselor, one of the more constructive dialogue I've had with my constituents is the dissemination of information and how information is getting out there to our constituents. The newspaper, I can tell you I'm one of two in my street that gets the newspaper delivered to them on a daily basis. I don't know if we're talking about digital as well. But I think that's going to be something that we need to consider as a body, and how the information is getting disseminated out to our constituents. In terms of, I did catch a lot of criticism from my constituents because we followed what we have to follow. There was no deviation. We did exactly, but I got criticized a lot because, well, no one gets a newspaper anymore. No one,
Right.
I think we have to look at a broader, how we will get that out.
Well, I think you can prescribe that as well. There's budget for that. Now, obviously people don't get the newspaper delivered as often as they used to, and they don't pick it up at the store either as often as they used to. But most of everything that's printed in the print version is available online. In fact, almost all newspapers have more information available online. Problem is they're behind a paywall. And so many times, even though it's available, it's only available for those that have subscriptions.
When we talk about publishing, are we talking about the New Haven Register, or are we talking about the West Haven Voice?
Not for this. We were talking about the Register for this.
We have to?
No, you don't have to. But it's got wider distribution, but it costs money. Stacks and stacks of the Voice downstairs and around town may not get picked up. But then what do you want to do? I mean, you can have one put in every mailbox, I guess. Explanatory text doesn't have to only reside someplace like that. It can be available downstairs. It can be sent out. We have e-blast systems and things like that. But again, people have to take active steps to sign up for those things. Can't blanket everybody. We're not going to drop them from a helicopter. So somewhere between those two is the way you get the word out. I don't know what the answer is. Could be that Councilman Rivera's answer is the answer. Maybe that's one of the answers. You are short on time-ish. But I'll tell you, if everybody looks at this referendum or these referendum questions and nobody votes one way or the other on them, then it fails. If one person votes no on one of them and no one else votes, it fails. If one person votes yes, it passes, right? And this is a narrow majority as possible. But if people are unfamiliar with it to the extent that they don't take part, then it's not going to happen. But presume 0 people vote, including you all. Then it doesn't pass. It needs to have the majority of the people who did vote yes for something to pass. So keep that in mind.
Councilman Quagliani?
Yeah, my only comment, Kevin, is that as far as subscribership or readership, I mean, I'd argue that the West Haven Voice would have the same reach as the New Haven Register because they have an online component as well. So you could go online to the West Haven Voice and look at the copy of the city charter. Listen, I'm one of those dinosaurs that like to go through the paper, which is old news because the stuff online is more updated
Yeah.
than the paper because you hear that the next day. But I never remember seeing any other town's charter in the New Haven Register. If Hampton just did it and New Haven just did it, I would imagine there would be several pages or an insert, and I've never seen that. So I mean, I know what it costs to just put that little square in like planning and zoning, or when we have
Very costly.
a public hearing here. So I would certainly advocate, to Councilman Beaton's point, we have the social media ability, right? The mayor is probably one of the top ones, and is how to utilize that social media. But we have our website, and again, if we're going to advertise on the Voice has their website, and I do like the idea of the kind of the district halls, if you will, and kind of incorporate that for people that are interested. So I would try to stick locally if I can with the newspaper, and if it complies with state standard, I would say let's give it to the Voice.
It does comply, and if you're looking for an argument to pitch it to the Voice rather than to the Register, A, cost, right? So that's the taxpayer's cost. But B, I would suggest that the people who regularly pick up the Voice are those that are probably already more informed and want to stay informed and are more apt to see it, read it, and then go vote based on it. Even though it's behind a paywall on the Register, and the people who pay for that are people that want to be involved, they may not be electors in West Haven. So it doesn't matter if they're informed. So it could be larger spend for larger reach to people that don't actually need the information. But it's probably an approach that has to blanket digital and analog and word of mouth and free copies available for whomever. That's probably the answer.
Okay. Councilman Rivera, and then I want to try and wrap this up.
Okay, I wanted to add one more thing. In any of our communications, I think we need to be 100% consistent. So if it's going to be 3 questions, question 1, mayor 4 years, question 2, the cosmetic changes, question 3, the library. And that should be in the talk track and consistent from the get-go through the whole thing. So this way, everybody knows what question 1 is. Everybody knows what question 2 is. And as we speak to people, I think that's important. The other thing is any document that goes out there should be a linked document. So if it needs to be updated or changed, it happens in one place. We're not putting it on Dave's Facebook page, my Facebook page, your Facebook page. It should be a link to a central document that gets managed. And if we change it, it changes once. And everybody has that update, no matter where they get it from.
Great recommendation.
It's a good point. I don't think anything can change, though. At some point, we're locked in.
I meant from the explanatory text document.
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, not necessarily the charter, but the
Sure.
explanation and the kind of layman term.
Well, there have been other towns that have collected the questions that people have at these, maybe one centralized, come ask the questions, and then they put those questions and the answers on the website.
An FAQ
You may not have
section.
made it to the high school to ask the questions, but your neighbors asked these questions, and these are the answers.
Absolutely.
If
Like
one
an
person has the question, many people have the questions.
like an FAQ section.
Exactly.
Terry Cassini, realistically, how quickly do you think that we would be able to review and sign off on that text document?
I would have to speak to Steve. Earlier today, I would have told you by this time next week, but considering things have blown up for him just today in 2 different places, he may need some more time. I'm not sure.
Well, I recognize that his schedule is now a little bit of a variable, but also there's now some substantive changes that need to be made to our document that he needs to work on, and then
Yes.
Craft the question. So I don't want to overtax him. So if we could have that document possibly by late August, let's say that we had that.
Well, you'll have to have it before then, certainly.
Okay.
You mean the explanatory text
Yes.
document? Yeah, that's going to have to be before late August. That'll have to be, if not 2 weeks, I don't know, 16 days.
Okay.
Because if you're going to have any events of any kind, or it's going to be published for wide dissemination, it needs to be published. And then the questions are going to be sent by the end of August to be in Secretary of State's office in September, so that they can have the proper 60 days to get things going. So,
And I'm really hoping that we vote on this on the 5th. So we can.
I hope so too.
That's our goal. That's my
are
goal.
you may not have an answer, but are you considering that some of these public calls may help you craft the questions because people say, hey, I don't know what that word means, or that's too complicated, or this, that, or the other thing?
Not for me.
Okay, good. That's the right answer. Don't do that. Explanatory, informational, but we don't want to solicit any more input, not to prevent people from weighing in. But as I said, the time for everyone, the review commission, this body, the public to weigh in, came to a close earlier tonight when you voted yes.
Okay. So I want to try and button this up. Who agrees? I know we're not taking votes, but I just want to know who agrees that the 4-year term for mayor and clerk should be a separate question. Okay, that's a separate question. Who agrees that the VIA explanation of what we're doing should be a separate question? Okay. Is there anything else that we have done in this document that anybody feels strongly that our constituents would find so important or such a change that it should be a separate question? Floor's open. Anybody? Councilwoman Heffernan? Your mic?
Maybe I stepped on somebody's toes. I think that possibly the tax collector, but it doesn't seem like anyone else would like that. But that is another elected position. Also, the removal of people and the procedure for it, I think people might want to be able to vote on that.
Any thoughts? She's talking about the authority to remove board and commission members resting with the city council in that process. Councilman Garthwaite?
I have heard from my constituents that they were not pleased that we took the tax collector out as elected, and changed it to what we're doing now. I have heard that from several people. I don't know if anybody else has heard that. I think that the tax manager is doing the job right now. So that was very hard for me to, vote on that, but yeah.
This is what I would like to suggest. Since we're not making any decisions tonight, my goal is to give Attorney Bednick some guidance in crafting these questions, and then we will convene on the 5th. And again, if we have to, I hope not, but again, if we have to, what I'd like to do, and I'd like to see if you all support this, I'd like to recommend to Attorney Bednick that he separates the 4-year term. Give us some draft language for that. Give us draft language for a VIA question, and draft language for a tax collector question, and then in as few questions as possible, lump everything else together, and see what he comes up with. He's been doing this for decades. He has a lot more experience than us, and he understands the verbiage a lot better than us. How does everybody feel about that? Councilman Quagliani?
Yeah, my only thought is with I get the VIA, but whether the residents vote for that or against that, there's no substantive change, because at the end of the day, we're still going to treat them as a government entity. They're still going to show us their budget. It's still actually the language the way it is kind of makes them, more visible as part of the community. But I don't see how any of that, would change in a charter question. If I vote yes for the language, all right, all this stuff's going to happen. But if I vote no for the language, it goes back to that ambiguous one sentence where we're still going to, we're going to maintain, we're going to support their funding. They're going to provide documentation where, and someday sit down with them and do an MOU without that charter requirement. So I don't know about using a question up on something that I can't really figure out what the material change would be one way or another.
I agree with you in principle, or actually in function. My concern actually is that what you're saying is actually correct, and that they will not, the voters will not see the change. And we know that the library is a very important thing to the residents. I tend to side with Councilman Beaton that I think we want to make clear what it is, because I don't want them to vote no on on the charter en masse because they don't understand that we're really not changing a whole lot. I don't want them to think we are, and then vote no against it because they don't quite understand what we're changing or what we're not changing, and then vote no. I think we might run the risk there.
I understand the rationale. I just, as you go down that ballot and you reduce that font size to get in all these questions and these omnibus motions, that after a while people are going to get, it's going to trail off. So I mean, I agree with Councilwoman Garthwaite that simplest is best. It's obviously not one question. It's probably not two questions, but I'm kind of in the three camp. But again, the more you put on that ballot and the more questions we have, the smaller the font is, and the more people are gonna go by it. And then we have to prioritize the questions. What's the most important question for us? Because everybody's gonna look at the first question, then may get tired after that and not look at the other questions. So.
Yeah, and I think and this is just I can't wrap my head around how we get one question that encompasses so many areas and not have it be overly wordy. I need to see it. I need to see the language. And that's why I'd like to just give Terry Mednick the time to create that question. We could look at the language. I don't disagree. I don't want it to be wordy, but I also want to make sure that we put everything. I don't want wordy, and I don't want 90 questions. So somehow we have to find that balance, and I can't visualize that sitting here tonight. What if I ask Attorney Mednick to put together a 4-term question, a tax collector question, and then in as few as possible, everything else with an option of having the VIA separated and incorporate. That way we have all the options in front of us and we can decide what works best. Because all we're doing now is asking him to give us the options.
Just got a quick suggestion.
Sure.
Maybe take that omnibus question and split it out by cosmetics and definitions, and then something like the VIA, and make those 2 separate questions, but defining what those things are.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not taking everything and lumping it into one question. We're taking the cosmetics, the definitions, the stuff that we're just cleaning up. That's a question, and then the transparency for the library and some of the other things can go into a separate question, which kind of makes those topics a little smaller.
Right.
Just a thought.
Are you proposing that we put that on the ballot in that manner?
The question on the ballot would be, here are definitional and cosmetic changes. Changing chairman to chair, those types of things, right? Setting definitions or changing definitions that's in the city charter. That would be one question. And then things like creating transparency for the library and the VIA, that might be another question. Transparency maybe for the Board of Ed or whatever else we can separate out into those 2 buckets. Instead of having one major question with everything in it, and you got to dig through it, or we have to explain it in a 3-page document in layman's terms, we separate out into question 1 is definitions, cosmetics, just things that we're cleaning up. Question 2 is more explaining what's changing for the library and the VIA. We want to create transparency. We want to create a partnership. We want to enable the ability to set an MOU or a way to partner with the city for services, right? So they can leverage some of the services or create some shared services between the library and the city.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is you're then thinking to have that all listed on said ballot?
No.
Okay, then maybe I'm misunderstanding because I'm thinking
at a very
that's
high
what I thought you were saying. Like you're going to have that. I'm
at
like,
a very
what are you
high level, the question would say, question 1, these are cosmetic changes, definitions, and then that can be explained in that explanatory text document that we're going to send out with examples, right? But here's question 1 is, do you approve these cosmetic changes?
No, can we just jump to? Can we just move to the ballot? On the ballot, based off of all the information that you're providing right now, I'm thinking, can you just share with me what you envision being on the ballot?
That simple of a question. Question 1 is these are the cosmetic changes, definition changes, simple, like I said, cosmetics. Yes or no, right? And then the examples come in the explanatory document. We can talk to those in the town halls or however we decide to communicate. Question 1 is about changing chairman to chair, right? Or redefining this, and this. not in the question, but in the explanatory document,
Got you. Okay.
right? So this way we keep this question simple on the ballot. They need to stay simple. They will absolutely go right by them.
So what I'm hearing is I think that we definitely want to separate out the 4-year term and then limit the number of questions and the verbiage to as little as possible. What I will do is I will communicate with Attorney Mednick and Attorney Cassini tomorrow and let them know, and then have them start putting together some examples. And I think what's happening is that we are trying to be very conceptual here and just
Absolutely.
off the top of our heads, what is it going to look like? For me personally, that's not how I think, and I'm struggling with that. So I would like to see proposed text. So I will give them those guidelines based on what I'm hearing tonight, and have them put together the document. If I get the questions in advance, I'll circulate them to everybody so we have time. If not, we will go through them next Wednesday, and we'll just deal with it in one night or whatever the case might be. What I'd like to do is for Wednesday, we're going to go through the questions. I'd like everybody to consider and think about, and then we could discuss on Wednesday a few things. Whether or not we want to publish in the New Haven Register versus the West Haven Voice.
We should probably do that tonight.
Well, we're not publishing tonight.
No. Vote on
So-
it
so-
where we want to put
So
it.
whether or not we want to publish in either paper, and whether or not we want to hold one or more community events, either everybody comes to City Hall or everybody comes to West Haven High, or do we want to do them in smaller groupings? I don't personally think in each district would be a good idea. I think perhaps lumping some districts together and try to do, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, because they're all in the same geographic areas, try to lump them together and find a community space that we could use. So to me, it would be one of those options. Either everybody comes to City Hall, West Haven High, whatever, or we do them in, maybe 3 different locations, 1 or more. So I'd like everybody to think about that, and then we will kind of have an idea of what we want to do.
I'm sorry, Chairman. Would you happen to? I'm sure you probably don't know off the top of your head, but wouldn't it be about the pricing, the Voice versus the New Haven Register? So I immediately said, well, what's the pricing for that? Yes, the New Haven Register has a greater reach, but what are we looking at financially?
It'll probably be triple, and it may reach more people, but I don't know that it'll reach more people that vote.
So it's a no for me for the New Haven Register.
And no for
You
me
too.
There's 2 no's. So I said we could vote for this tonight.
Well, you can also decide how else you want to commit the city to getting the word out beyond where it will be physically published, analog. Make use of this, that, or the other thing.
Mhm.
All of these are ending up on YouTube, so there's already a link for something that it can be tied to. What else goes along with that? We've got an explanatory document that can be put online with a live link embedded in it somewhere. If somebody wants to find this and the other meetings.
Okay.
The whole record of this entire process lives online and will, for anybody who wants to inform themselves but doesn't want to read the document, they want to hear people talk about it, they can find everything back to front since we got started on this. They're all available. So that can be part of it, right? You tell me how you want to get the word out, and that's what will end up having to happen. You want to use your own Facebook channels, fine, do whatever. Like I said, I'm definitely going to commit the clerk's office to having physical copies. Anybody who wants to make a copy, they don't want to pay $7, they can come upstairs and I'll print one for them. I don't really care. We don't have to charge people to get their own information. That's how I feel. But how do we get the word out? Sounds like the Voice is the best bet. It's available for free. It's stacked up all over town. People can just grab it. But how do people know that it's even in the Voice, right? Just keep in mind, and I had to remind myself, there's a lot of people. We got 53,500 people in town. Do 3,500 people know that this is happening and they're engaged with it? That would be a lot to me, So how do we get more people? You all know better than I do how to get the word out. If it's in the Voice and it's everywhere, let people know that it's there. Pick one up before you vote or before you come to the information session, whatever you want to call it.
Councilman Beaton?
Just curious, we all received a letter in the mail from the mayor regarding the budget and what the what was that cost? Can we start there? Because that hit everybody. That hit the entire population of the city. And maybe to Pete's point and to Melly's point, we can try to do something in that venue, as you know, because that went to every single taxpayer in the city of West Haven.
I will ask and try to find out what the cost is to send out, because I imagine that the explanatory text is probably going to be maybe 2 sheets of paper if we do it front and back, maybe 3 sheets of paper. So we're probably talking, 1 stamp. Hopefully, if we can get it under maybe 2 stamps, the value of 1 or 2 stamps. So I could ask I'll find out how much that cost. All right, so that's on my plate. I will do that. I will email the attorneys tomorrow and start having them work on the questions based on the feedback I got here. I will ask for as many options as they have time to prepare for us. That way we can make an informed decision next week. Again, please consider, I think we're all in line with the Voice versus the New Haven Register, but we'll finally decide. A billboard with Dave's head. The West Haven Voice versus the New Haven Register, and finally, whether or not we want to do groupings of districts or do we just want to have everybody come to one place. I'd like to decide that next week, too. Everybody, thank you for your thoughtfulness. We got a lot of heavy lifting done. We're in the home stretch. Kevin, thank you, and please thank Steve again. Time is 7:48. May I have a motion to adjourn? Second, third, fourth. Good night.